we're at the tail end of this course. We got this class. Next week, Wednesday, is our last class for this course. And that means time to gear up for our next course. I want to invite you all. You got a little, what's that called again? The bookmark. There you go. We got a bookmark in the book, which is telling you a little bit about next course. Next course is a fascinating course. I actually had the honor of being on the editorial board of this course. A year ago, we were working hard on producing this course. It's a journey through history, but in a very unique way. Usually history looks at big events, big details, big stories. This is the exact opposite. Let's explore Jewish history from the eyes and the lives of 12 individual Jews. And it's fascinating. It's going to take us to every single era, every single epoch of Jewish history. And we're going to be meeting, I imagine you haven't heard maybe one or two, but 12 Jewish men and women, which are, by the way, probably our bubbies and zadies. Because at some point you go back and, these people must be our bubbies and zadies. And learning about the trials and tribulations, the challenges they faced. The four classes are, the first class can be about Jewish converts. The lives of 3 converts. Second class is unexpected heroes, Jews who became extremely influential even in the larger world. And those 3 stories and what their influence was. Number 3 are 3 Jewish women. And number 4 are 3 Jewish hostages, which is very interesting. Unfortunately, very apropos, but it's an important class to see historically how the Jewish community, as well as these individuals, face the challenge of being taken hostage, each one in a totally different setting, different era. So fascinating course. I want to share with you a little promotional video just to introduce you to the course, and I want to encourage all of you. About early next week, I'm going to be getting out the website and the registration. All right, dear friends, so this is the next course. Take a look at it. Maybe let me know if you think this sounds interesting. Up next, so stay tuned. You've been warned. You'll be hearing a lot about that very soon. And today we're going to be moving on to lesson number 5, Talmudic logic. That's tonight's topic. How the Talmud thinks unique aspects of Talmudic thinking. Jewish culture, even pop culture, and other civilizations know that there's something special to the way Jews think, and it all comes from the way the Talmud thinks. They say that in South Korea, studying Talmud is like a big thing. You ever heard about this? Yeah. The South Koreans are into studying Talmud because they want to become smart, right? There's a very big interest, and it all comes from Talmudic thinking, right? There's a massive thing. Like, as soon as you go into high school, there's booklets and pamphlets for Talmud. Actually, I never looked into it. I wanted to see exactly which subjects, and I'm very intrigued by that. But they say they really get into it. Talmudic study, they do it. There's no question about it that Talmudic logic is very unique. It's so unique. I don't think anybody thinks and processes information the way the Talmud does, which is part of what makes it challenging. It's also what makes it so fulfilling and so rich. And there's no question that it sharpens the brain, it challenges the brain, and it sharpens the brain in an unbelievable way. So, here's a story. There's a little, this is in Russia, a little Jew, a little, hunchback, a little Yidala on the train. And on the train, there's a Russian soldier. And the Russian soldier is looking with disgust at the Jew, and he says, Jew, Jid, right? Right. He says, what makes you all so smart? All you petty little Jews, but what makes you so smart? So the Jew says, it's very simple. It's the herring. The herring? It's the herring. Okay, all right. That was the end of the conversation. 10 minutes later, the Jew pulls out a jar of herring from his bag and starts snacking on herring. The Russian soldier says, you know what? You got a piece or two you could spare? I'll buy it off you. How much can I buy a piece of herring for? He says, a piece of herring will cost you 7 ruble. 7 ruble. Yeah, okay. 7 ruble. He gives him 7 ruble. The Jew gives him a piece of herring. He takes the herring, starts chewing on it. He says, "This is ridiculous. It's just a piece of herring. I could buy a full jar for 1 ruble." And the Jew says, "It's working already." Look at that. Okay. So, there we go. Today what we're going to be doing is, I want to point out to you just a few key features of Talmudic thinking, which I think are unique to Talmudic thinking, and are part of what developed what I think is a very, very sharp form of analysis in Talmudic thinking. And then what I want to do with you is, in lesson number 3, we learned the sugya together. You remember that? Which wasn't fun. It was fun, but I guess it depended on the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Those who were able to follow, it was a lot of fun. Those not. But it was okay. No, you weren't even there. Okay, all right. It was a good class. We're going to be doing another sugya. Now, sugya means a Talmudic block, where we have an issue, we want to work through it, we're going to learn through it. So I want to point out to you what's going to be today's Talmudic sugya, and this is going to be basically our real sugya to see how this Jewish logic actually works in the Talmud. Page 199 in your books, which is the very end of your lesson, you will see here a page from Talmud. This page is from the tractate called Baba Metzia. Right? Sounds familiar? Yeah, the Babas are very famous. Baba Metzia, this is like real civil law, business law, etc. The shaded text, that's what we're going to be studying today. How does that sound? How does that look? Good. Doesn't look too bad, no? This is a relatively easy sugya, all right? So this is not going to be too difficult. I guess we'll find out. But sugyas could be much longer and much more difficult, but this is going to be our sugya, brand new topic that we've never explored yet before in this course. A few things I want to point out before we really get into the issue of Talmudic thinking. The first thing is, studying Talmud is outright difficult. It is hard. It is hard. Studying Talmud is a very not easy thing to do. It's not just an easy linear form of reading. And it's not like reading a book. You know, I read a book at home, I sit on the couch, I put my feet up. If you would ask me a page later, what did it say on the page before? I don't know, but I had fun reading it. But I don't know if I remember it. Studying Talmud is a very, very involved act. You have to first of all, you can't read the Talmud like in bed. You got to put it on a table, and you're probably sitting at the edge of your chair, and you're a little bit, in it. You can't sit back on a chair. And you're racking your brain. Studying Talmud, and I'll tell you personally, teaching Talmud makes me sweat. Nothing makes me sweat besides teaching Talmud. To really teach Talmud, I break a sweat. It is difficult. And you'll feel you're getting lost. And some will be like, oh, you get it, but then at some point, all of a sudden, you're just losing traction. I'm not following the logic over here. And the Talmud moves quickly. There's so many learning curves to it. I think we're going to see that today. It's fast-paced, and the logic sometimes does challenge. It's a challenging form of logic. It's a lot more difficult than what we think of regular logic to mean. So I want to begin with 2 texts over here. Let's begin. Text number 1. Max, why don't you start us off over here? Text 1, page 173. This is a quote from the Talmud.
The key to success. The whole book's written on this.
Oh.
Rabbi Yitzchak said, if a person tells you, I toiled but did not find success, do not believe them. I did not toil but found success, do not believe them. I toiled and I found success, believe them.
You should just know, by the way, that the Rebbe chose, in like the mid-1970s, the Rebbe chose 12 quotes from throughout Judaism, which he felt are the 12 top most important quotes for every Jewish child to know. Which means, what are the building blocks of Judaism that a Jewish child needs to have in their education? This was one of them. Which is a very simple, but it's such an important attitude. If somebody says, I found success easy, I didn't even have to work hard, don't believe them. It's a lie. Not true. Somebody says, I worked hard, but I found no success, and I gave up. Don't believe them. Which means you didn't work properly. The way it works, the way Judaism believes it is, you work hard, you find success. Over. That's it. You got to put in the effort, and when you put in the effort, you will find success. But the real truth is as much as this is a general, right? They say there's books about this, but this is really the whole book. That's all you got to know. Key to success is you work hard and you believe that Hashem is going to make sure that every piece of effort you put in is going to be rewarded with success. That's it. But the real truth is that Rabbi Yitzchak, who said this, he said this in the context of studying Torah. Studying Torah is hard, but if you work hard, you will succeed. If you give up quickly and you say, well, I tried, it didn't work out. No, don't believe them. You didn't work hard enough. You want to study Talmud, it's going to be hard work, but you will get it. You will get it. Let's read text 2, which is such a beautiful text. This is a text from a much more contemporary rabbi, not from Rabbi Yitzchak from the time of the Talmud, but this is from a rabbi, a fascinating individual. His name was the Ben Ish Chai. He's known as the Ben Ish Chai. His real name was Rabbi Yosef Chaim of Baghdad. He was the chief rabbi of Baghdad a little bit over 100 years ago. And very, very prolific writer, and just a great, great, great rabbi. Unbelievable individual, which maybe next course we'll talk about him. We won't, but it's okay. But text 2, where he describes this idea that studying Torah is difficult. And Bar, would you like to read? Text 2, page 174.
God gave us the Torah as a closed book, secured with multiple chains, so that it requires much toil to discover the ideas hidden within it. This ensures that we do not study the Torah casually, but rather out of great love. For one who studies casually does not wish to exert or trouble themselves, whereas one who studies out of love for the material will exert much effort.
It's a very deep thing. We all know this. When you want something and it comes easy, you don't fully, it doesn't bring out within you the appreciation for that thing. When you have something that you want and you know is precious, and it takes a lot of effort to get it, it evokes within you the love and the passion, and you treasure it so much more. And there's no question about it. When you study Torah and you have to work hard to get it, but you got it, there's a whole new level of commitment and dedication and a feeling of just, oh, I love this so much. So there's no question that's a very big part of it. So that's what we're doing over here. Talmudic logic, big caution over here, that studying Gemara really does require hard work. The real truth is, I've thought about it. Should I maybe start a Talmud class? I'm a little bit scared of starting a Talmud class. It's a big commitment to even ask from the people who are going to join it. You know what I'm saying? Okay, a lot of noise coming in from there, huh? What can we do? What can we do? Make a lot of noise back, no? At least that.
See if it was an open door issue.
It's coming from there. Nothing we can do about it. But Gemara study requires hard work, deepening our appreciation of the Torah. So point number 1 is that there's hard work. That said, I want to introduce you to a very important phrase that I first heard when I first started learning Gemara, which is probably at the age of like 10 or maybe 11. Which is like this, 2 Yiddish words. Halt cup, with an exclamation mark. Got to add that. Halt cup. What does that mean? Anybody know? Oh, cup is the head. It means hold on to your head. Or hold head. Like meaning, pay attention. Keep track. Things are moving fast over here. Pay attention. Don't look at the phone. I know you got a text message. No. Halt cup. And it's like a posture. It's like, really, really focus what's going on over here. Things are moving fast. And when things move fast, a lot of things change very quickly, very rapidly. Halt cup. Okay. What's moving fast over here? There's a few keys to studying Talmud. And we're going to see this in our sugya. I want to remind you, sugya is the word we use in Talmud for a Talmudic block, a full piece, beginning to end, which means we begin with a question, we begin with an issue. When we resolve it and it's over, that's the sugya, from the beginning till the end. Okay. One of the key parts of Talmudic thinking and Talmudic study is like this. The Talmud operates by speaking about specific issues, but one of the things that Talmud expects you to kind of intuitively realize is that one little small idea actually has a massive ripple effect and has a domino effect. And you need to appreciate that when you're studying. Which means like this. One little premise, or one little challenge, or one little change in the detail of a scenario that the Talmud does is not just one little detail over here. It changes everything. One of the things we have to do is, one second, If this is not true, then all of a sudden 10 different things are going to change as well. It's like playing a chess game. Really being a master at playing chess is not just that you know how to do a move, but it's that when you do a move or your opponent does a move, you're seeing where this is going. You see, 1 second, if they just made this move, these opportunities closed, those opportunities opened. And you got to see what now could happen in 5 steps from now. What could happen 10 steps from now? You got to play the long game. Talmudic thinking is very, very much like that. You have to pay attention to how one little change or one little question that challenges everything, there's a seismic shift over here. Larger issues change. Okay, so for example, the sugya we've done before, and I don't want to get into it right now, but we had a whole issue. We have a Mishnah, but then we have 2 opinions from the elderly sages. We had Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda. We don't know who the Mishnah could fit like. And we're busy toying back and forth trying to figure out, who does this Mishnah fit like, Rabbi Yossi or Rabbi Yehuda? And you could be sitting there and saying, like, you know what, I don't care. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, I don't know, I don't care. But the real truth is no. Everything changes based on this. It's not just a matter of like, I want to know who said it was Rabbi Yehuda or Rabbi Yossi. If it's Rabbi Yossi, then a whole slew of laws change. The whole application of this situation changes. Now, I want to walk you through all of this, but it's larger application issues over here. So too, the Talmud very, very often grabs onto such extreme scenarios or splitting hairs. Like, I'll give you an example. You ready for an example? And we're coming up to Passover, so here's an example. Before Pesach, we have to clean out our houses from what's called chametz. All leavened, baked, all pastas, anything that's leavened. Okay. The Talmud has a question. What happens if you clean out your house for Passover, and then a mouse, you knew this one?
I was just going to say that.
You see a mouse with a piece of bread running into your house. And then you see the mouse leaving, and it doesn't have the bread in his mouth. What do you do? Or let's say you. So first of all, there's a million different scenarios. What happens if the mouse went in, but you never saw it leave? Okay, well that doesn't mean it didn't leave. Maybe it did leave. Let's say you saw it leave, and it had a piece of bread in its mouth. Could you assume that this was the same mouse and that it was the same piece of bread? Or maybe no. Now you got chametz in your house. You got to figure it out. You got to clean it out again. What happens if you saw a white mouse go in, but a black mouse go out? And you're like, come on, I don't need to hear about mice bringing chametz. Like, it's just far-fetched cases. But the real truth is, no. Stop looking at just what we're talking about here. What the Talmud does typically is trying to tease out and trying to apply pressure. How far, to what extent does this law apply? What are the limitations of this law? So we're going to find extreme cases. But it's not about a mouse. It's about the general principle of the law. How does this law function in real life? At what point are we pushing the law too far and it doesn't apply there? Like they say, there's a great sage. The New York Times called him the scholar of the millennia. His name was Rabbi Adin Evan Israel Steinsaltz. Ever heard of him? Rabbi Steinsaltz. Came here to Shari Tzedek when he was still alive multiple times. Okay. Absolutely brilliant. And somebody once asked him, he says, the Talmud piece seems so trivial. It's like issues of cows and what happens if your cow gores another cow? So he was a very sharp guy. He says, if when you study the Talmud, you think it's just talking about a cow, you're the cow. Like, you're missing the point. Like, this is, you got to see the domino effect. You got to see where this is going over here. This is changing the whole way we look at how this law operates in real life by testing it and by. Okay, so this idea, there's also a good few Jewish jokes for this idea. Okay, but here's also the idea of missing gaps of logic. Picking things up 5 steps ahead because it's obvious that we got there. This is part of it. Talmud operates that, stop just looking at what I just said and see how things change. Be a little bit of a detective. One little clue changes a lot of other things at once. So they say, okay, same setup, a Jew's traveling on a train. few different versions of the joke. A Jew's traveling on a train, and there's another young Jew also traveling on a train. So, two Jews traveling and sit down next to each other. And the young man turns to the businessman and says, sir, do you have the time? And the businessman turns around and says, you could forget about marrying my daughter. Okay, the time is 10 to 8. What? Hey, what? So he says, yeah. You think I'm a fool? I know where this is going. You're on my train. We're heading in this direction. That means you're probably coming to my village. We're going to make small talk here on the train. You're starting to ask me what time it is. Soon you're going to ask me where you're coming, where you're going, what do you do? I know where this is going. And make small talk. And then you're going to come to the city. I'm going to feel bad for you, so I'm going to invite you for dinner to my house, where I should leave a young Jewish man out on the streets for the night. And then when you come to my house, you can meet my daughter. And I know you're good looking, she's good looking, you're personable. You're going to start talking. You're going to fall in love. Next thing I know, you're going to come over and tell me I want to marry your daughter. So I'm letting you know right now, you're not marrying my daughter. I will never marry my daughter. Somebody who doesn't have a watch. But now for the time. I see where this is going. Okay. Or here's the other option is like this. Two Jews are traveling. Same setup. The businessman, he's a little bit older. The young man on the train. The young man turns to the elderly and says, what time is it? And the elderly man says, 10 to 8. And Mazel Tov on your engagement to Cohen's daughter. How did you know I was going to date Cohen's daughter? So he said, yeah, come on, it's obvious. You're traveling on this train to this direction, but you're obviously going to my city, because if you're going to the city much further down, you wouldn't be traveling so lightly. So if you're coming to my city, in my city, now what business does a young man have in my city? Nothing. You're obviously coming to date a girl. Now there's really only 3 girls of marriageable age right now in our city. Goldstein's daughter, she's not so good looking. You would never go for her, so she's obviously, that's not happening. Gordon, they just went through some tsaras. They're definitely not marrying off their daughter now. Oh, so it must be Cohen's daughter. So it's obvious. Most of they're getting engaged to Cohen's daughter. Okay, so this attitude of like, it's obvious. I'm 10 steps ahead of the game. I see where this is going already. This is classical Talmud. It sounds good in a joke, but it actually becomes very difficult to do in the Talmud. The Talmud is moving very fast, not just moving very, very fast, but expects you to keep up with larger picture issues. Where are the chips falling in a much bigger way? Okay, so that's one big idea over here in halting cup. Okay, here's another idea. You ready for this? The Talmud doesn't like things that are wrong. Wrong. Does that make sense? For example, if a sage comes and says, for example, over here, grass is blue. Do we like that? No, come on, you're wrong. By the way, there's actually an idea. Anybody who ever said something was wrong wasn't even recorded in the Talmud, which means we do argue. There are a lot of arguments, and sometimes one argument does win. But there is an idea that when they wrote down the Talmud, any argument that didn't really hold water, we're not even writing it down. If we're going to write it if it's a good argument. Maybe it's not right at the end of the day. It has to be something which is very... But the Talmud has something else. We don't like things that are too right. We don't like things that are too obvious. Why? Imagine a sage would come and say, I've got a very important teaching for all of you. Grass is green. What's the problem then?
We're going to lose a little respect for the teaching.
No, that's not the problem.
It's not debatable.
Why are you telling this to me?
Yeah.
Why are you telling this to me?
It's not news.
It's not news. Why are you wasting ink on telling me this? So anytime there's any teaching from the earlier generations, and it seems a bit too obvious, the Talmud right away says, hold up. I don't like that you're telling me something which is too obvious. And what the Talmud says is, if you are telling it to me, it must be that it's not so obvious. So where is the room for a mistake that I now need to appreciate why we could have made a mistake here? There was an easy mistake to be made over here. And now I need you to explain to me why, no, it's not so obvious. And in that way, the Talmud teaches you what we would typically call critical thinking. But it's a lot more than critical thinking. In our world, we have opinions, and we like when people mirror back to us our opinions. And our kind of, not just, like also like the way we think. I think this, I know I'm right. Right? Don't we all think that? And if you're saying something which doesn't align with my beliefs or my feelings or my opinions, you're wrong. I don't like you. I don't like listening to you. And if you're saying something which supports my opinions, come, tell me. I like that. The Talmud is saying, no, I don't like that. What are you telling me? I need to hear more of what I already know? No, I don't need that. The Talmud is always looking at wrong opinions and appreciating why those wrong opinions are actually pretty good arguments. And then saying, no, but even though it's a good argument, that's exactly what the Mishnah is teaching us. That still the law is not going to be like that. Even though you would think it's going to be like that. So the Talmud really trains you into thinking how mistakes are made and how mistakes actually are pretty close to being right. So we don't spend a lot of time on the obvious. We spend time on the wrong but almost right. And it's a fascinating thing that it teaches you how to approach life in a whole different way. Things are not so black and white anymore. And the obvious is not so appealing anymore. No, it's not. I'm actually focusing on understanding the wrong opinion or a different opinion than mine. And I'm trying to understand where that came from and why that opinion is actually pretty right, although I ultimately don't agree with it because it's pretty right, but not all the way right. It's a whole different way of looking at things. You understand what I'm saying over here? It's fascinating. So there's 25 different models of logic, probably even more than 25 logic. I'm just giving you a few over here. It goes on and on and on. But this is the idea that Talmud is very fast-paced. The Talmud is extremely logical. The Talmud is thinking big, and the Talmud wants you to think big along with it. And the Talmud is always making you challenge assumptions. You think something is obvious. You think something is wrong. No, think about it. No, is it actually that way? Is there maybe a nuance that makes what you thought is wrong right? Is there maybe a nuance that what you thought was obviously right is maybe wrong? Things like that. Okay. With all of that said, and I had an example ready over here, but it's okay. We're not going to do the example. Okay. But this is the key phrase from the Talmud. The Talmud is always asking this. Isn't this obvious? Why are you telling this to me? This is an obvious law. I don't need you to tell this to me. And this is how the Talmud always gets into teasing out how actually we could be making mistakes over here, and people could be making mistakes. Okay. All that said, we are right now going to be learning a sugya. This sugya from the Talmud, the one that I just showed you, is fascinating, and this is how it's going to look. And dear friends, we're all going to need a hot cup. We have 50 minutes, and I want to spend all 50 minutes doing a sugya with you. Yes?
Do all sugya fit on one page?
What we're going to be learning in the next 50 minutes is less than a page.
Right, but a sugya could be 3 pages.
A sugya could be 10 pages.
All right, right.
And you know how hard it is to hot cup through 10 pages? And it can be such complex and multi-layered arguments, and you think and false starts. It's fascinating. It's a wonderful journey. I enjoy making like these I would make them like these flow charts of like how the sugya works and indents. It's a phenomenal logical experience to really break your head through a sugya. We're going to be learning a sugya about fraud, and this is going to be a sugya that we could all very much relate to because it's personal. We're going to be taking a Mishnah, and the Mishnah is not clear. Again, what's a Mishnah? A Mishnah is the most original, earliest recording of the oral tradition done by Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi. But the Mishnah is written very, very cryptically, as few words as possible. And the Talmud's job is always to unpack the full extent, what is really happening here in the Mishnah. And that's what we're going to be doing over here. But we're going to be doing a lot of this a thought processing. Let's really think it through. Let's think it through critically. Let's come up with multiple different understandings and what are all the different elements here of the story. And before we jump in, we'll start with a classic. This is for you, Louis. You ready? There's a Jew, his name is Sean Goldstein. Sean Goldstein is a brilliant Jewish kid. He went to Harvard, he went to Yale, he's a PhD in philosophy, he mastered Socratic thinking, and he shows up to his rabbi, or to a rabbi, and says, Rabbi, Sean Goldstein, I'm a brilliant guy, I know my stuff, I'm smart, I want to round out my education. with a little bit of Talmudic study. So I wonder if you could teach me some study. So the rabbi says, okay, do you think you are ready? Do you think you're cut out for studying Talmud? He's like, Rabbi, I'm a Harvard graduate. I have a PhD in I can handle this. The Talmud says, well, I'm not sure. I got to test you. Let me see if you actually are good at Talmudic logic. So he says, sure, bring it on. So the rabbi said, I'll ask you a question. And the rabbi holds up 2 fingers. Right? And he says, 2 men climb down a chimney. They're going to steal. One guy comes down with a clean face. One guy comes down with a dirty face. Who goes to wash their face? So Sean Goldstein says, oh, obviously, the guy with the dirty face goes to wash his face. How you doing?
I'm here for the joke.
Opening joke right now. Come on in.
Just came out.
You're right, the guy getting down the chimney. Who goes to wash his face? Sean Goldstein says, the guy with the dirty face goes to wash his face. The rabbi says, wrong! Think about it. The guy with the dirty face looks at clean face. And he says, clean face has a clean face. I must also have a clean face. Meanwhile, clean face looks at dirty face and says his face dirty, my face must be dirty. So it's not dirty face that cleans his face, it's clean face that's cleaning his face. And someone says, oh, you're right, yeah, so obvious. Give me another one. I'll tell you, I can do Talmudic thinking. So the rabbi says, okay, ready for another one? 2 men climb down a chimney. One has a clean face, one has a dirty face. Who's going to go wash his face? So Shangal says, well, the guy with the clean face. Because he sees a dirty face washing his face. He's getting clean face because clean face sees dirty face with dirty face. So clean face goes and washes his face. The rabbi says, wrong! They both wash their face. Dirty face looks at clean face, and it says, this guy's a clean face. I also have a clean face. But meanwhile, clean face looking at dirty face, and he says, whoa, that guy's face is dirty. I got to go wash my face. So clean face all of a sudden goes, unexpectedly, starts washing his face. So dirty face says, one second, if he's washing his face, I should probably also go wash my face. So both of them are washing their face. He says, oh, you're so right, so obvious. They're going to both wash their face. Rabbi, don't worry, I promise you, I know how to do Talmudic logic. Hit me up with another question. And the rabbi says, sure. 2 men come down a chimney. One has a clean face, one has a dirty face. Who's going to go wash their face? And so Shangal says, you know what? You're right. Both of them are going to go wash their face. The rabbi says, wrong! Think about it. What's going to happen over here? They come down, the dirty face looks at clean face, says, oh, his face is clean, my face is clean. That's it, doesn't even think about washing his face. Clean face looks at dirty face, sees dirty face with dirty face, and sees dirty with dirty face, and says, I want to go wash my face. But then he sees dirty face not washing his face. So he says, oh, if he's not washing his face, I should start running away washing my face. None of them wash their face. So he says, oh, you're right. None of them, really, in truth, thinking about it, none of them are going to wash their face. Because he says, okay, Rabbi, hit me up with another one. I could do this. I could answer good Talmudic questions. So Rabbi says, okay, let's try it again. 2 men come climbing down the chimney. One guy with a clean face, one with a dirty face. Who's washing their face? So he says, none of them do, because clean face is going to go wash his face because he sees dirty face, but dirty face is not washing his face, so clean face doesn't go wash his face. The rabbi says, your logic is messed up. How does it even make sense that they're both coming down the same chimney and one guy's a dirty face, one guy's a clean face? Your whole premise is messed up. The whole case can't happen. And even more than that, they came here to steal. No thief cares if they look dirty. They're going to go steal and they're going running out. This whole thing is narishkeiten. And the way the joke ends is, the rabbi tells him, when you spend your whole life thinking about narisha questions, which means foolish questions, then all you could come up with is narisha answers, foolish answers. Okay, so you could really say the rabbi is not being so fair to Sean Goldstein. But the point is, this style, tear apart a case and look at it from different perspectives, we are going to actually see what that looks like, not in a joke, but in real Talmud. Are we all ready? Let us do this. We're going to be studying Talmud. And this is a Mishnah that deals with employee and employer relations, business between when you hire somebody, and when things go wrong. We're going to begin with a Mishnah. Now, dear friends, we're going to read the Mishnah, but when we read the Mishnah, take it in. Okay, the way we read a Mishnah is there's so much here, and we have to really process what we're reading, make sure we're taking it in, make sure we chew it over, and that we see the nuances of the text like that. We could then discuss it together. Dear friends, are we ready? For our sugya. Let's read. Text 5, page 179. Lewis, give us the Mishnah and read it nice and clear and loud. Text 5.
If one hired workers, but they deceived each other, the parties have no claim of liability against each other. They merely have a right to complain. If one hired a donkey driver, or a porter to fetch cannabis posts, or wedding, funeral flutes, or workers to raise flax from the soaking pit, or any other task involving something that will be lost if the task is not performed immediately, and they cancel, the individual may hire replacement workers at their expense.
This is the Mishnah. How's it looking so far?
It confuses me.
It confuses you. What confuses you?
The use of these pronouns, I don't know who's talking about what.
Mm-hmm.
If one hired workers, if a person hired, let's say a worker, but the employer and employee deceive each other, is that what they're saying?
Oh, it's not clear. It's not clear. Are there two workers deceiving each other? Is the owner deceiving a worker? Is the worker deceiving the owner? So we got a lot of gray space over here. Okay, that's good. Very, very good.
Yeah.
So the first thing we're going to have to do is call discovery, just like a lawyer would do, right? First thing is, let's get the facts on the ground, and let's try to figure out what we're working with. The Talmud is going to do 4 layers of discovery, and this is what's going to help us understand the Mishnah. Okay. So number 1 is, which is the easy one, let's start at the bottom of the Mishnah. This is a little bit easier to understand. You hired drivers to deliver something, or to pick up something, and it's something which is very time sensitive. You need it today. For example, wedding and funeral flutes. So those days it was customary that by a wedding you play flutes, and also by a funeral there were certain tunes they would play as part of a funeral. So I need flutes for the funeral happening today, not tomorrow. So you hire them to do it today. It's time sensitive. If I don't have it today, I've got a problem on my hands. These guys cancel on you. That's the issue here. They canceled. Why did they cancel? You call them up. Well, what's going on? They canceled. Oh, we forgot we had another job. Blah, blah, blah. So the Talmud says that's not right. This is something which needs to happen now. You could go and hire replacement workers at their expense. Which means, let's say they gave you a bill for $300 to bring these flutes. But now that you're last minute scrambling, it's going to cost you $600. So you could legally go and bring them to court and say, you owe me those $300 that I had to pay. No, well, $300 I was already willing to pay you, so that's on me. But the fact that you got me stuck, that I had to do this right now and pay more, so this makes a lot of sense, right? This is an easy part of the Mishnah to wrap our heads around, although nothing is too easy in the Talmud. But, and here's where you got a hot cup. Hold on to your heads. What is happening in the first clause of the Mishnah? Right, Stuart, you right away brought this up. It's weird. One hired workers, but they deceived each other. What's the deception? So the Mishnah right away, the Talmud right away points out something very, very interesting. The first level of discovery is that there's a very important difference of wording in part 1 of the Mishnah and part 2 of the Mishnah. Take a look at this over here. In part 1, we describe it as they deceived. In part 2, we say they cancel. So the Talmud's right away going to say, look at that in contrast. Part 2 is talking about cancellation, but part 1 of the Mishnah can't be about cancellation. It has to be a deception. And the deception is not cancellation. All right, so we don't know a lot yet. but part 1 of the Mishnah does mean deception and not cancellation. This is a very simple point, but it's important. Discovery is okay.
But it makes it even more confusing. Because in the cancellation, which is maybe not so blameworthy, you can hire replacement workers at the expense. The deception, which is clearly blameworthy.
It's fraud
It's
or
fraud.
something.
Oh, you merely have a right to complain.
Oh.
So there's something else, I mean, that makes it even further apart.
So we're going to get there in a second. Now, I just want to, this sugya is not dealing with part 2. We're dealing with part, we really want to know what part 1, what is flying in part 1. And as Max points out, it's a very weird case. The parties have no claim of liability, but they could complain. So I have a lot of questions on that. Okay. But discovery number 1 of the Talmud is, Mishnah discovery is this case, we're talking about a case of deception, which even deception, what does deception mean? But it's not talking about a case of cancellation. That is important. Okay, but here's where the discovery really begins. That was an easy layer of discovery, right? Okay, just look at the wording. It's probably not cancellation because we're not using the word from later. Here is the big deal. There's no legal claim, but there's a right to complain. Okay, legal claim we all understand. If somebody makes you lose money, you got a legal claim against them. What does right to complain mean? What does it mean the Mishnah says, you've got a right to complain? What, I'm allowed to go home and cry myself in my bed? What? I need permission to go complain?
You can complain without risk of being sued for libel.
That's interesting. Oh, maybe you could then go and write on Facebook, right? You could violate the non-disclosure agreement. So this is what it means. And interestingly, in our culture, Western world, if you have a grievance against somebody else, that's your problem, all right? That's your business. But in Torah law, it's forbidden for a Jew to hold a grudge against another Jew. It's forbidden to hate another Jew in your heart. So this is actually a very important law. That sometimes you don't have a legal claim, and you're going to lose in court. But you know what? But this is legitimate enough that the Torah says you do have a legitimate issue here. This is a real complaint. And what that means is, are you allowed to go and tell somebody, don't do business with that guy? He messed me over. Generally, that's wrong. A Jew's not allowed to do that to another Jew. Right? But over here you have a right to complain. So it's not just saying, okay, you lost the court case, you have a right to go home and be upset today. No, but it's actually a very, very real material law. Right? Does that make sense? But here's the real question. What is a case where there's no legal claim, but yet there's a right to complain? What that means is you're not going to win in court, but you were legitimately wronged here. But you're not going to win the court case. What's that case? And what the Talmud says right away is this is very, very difficult. Let's think about it. Okay, Talmud currency is called a zuz, like we say in the Bitrei zuz, Tuesday. So this is the way we're going to work it. Talmud a case. This is a scenario. Okay, I'm the owner. I own a field. I'm the boss. I want to hire somebody. I tell the person, I'm hiring you for 3 zuz for the day. You'll work for me for the day. I pay you 3 zuz. Or sorry, let's say at the beginning of the day, I say I'm going to pay you 4 zuz. You come to me at the end of the day, I worked hard, where's my 4 zuz? And I say, forget it, I'm only paying you 3 zuz. So let's say that's the case. I cheated you. I told you I'm going to pay you more, but by the end of the day, when you finish your work, I pay you less. Is that the case of the Mishnah? Could that fit here?
No,
No, why not?
because you would have a claim.
You 100% have a legal claim. If it's 4 versus 3, that doesn't fit over here. Why? Because that's total fraud. That's total fraud. Okay, let's do another example. I tell you I want to hire you. I've got a strawberry field. We need to pick strawberries. And you show up, and I bring you to, all you see is blueberries. You're like, 1 second. Look at the contract. You said strawberries. I only see blueberries over here. I say, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, strawberry season was 2 months ago. Blueberries. Was there a deception here?
Not purposely.
Well, that doesn't matter. But the point was, there was a miscommunication. Yeah, I came on one premise. I thought I'm doing strawberries and blueberries. Now, Is there any material difference between if you're holding the same exact green bucket and picking strawberries or blueberries? Why?
Well, blueberries can stain your fingers.
They can stain your fingers. Okay. But you're coming to you're coming to work. I'm saying. No, if you're allergic, you're allergic. Okay, so you're off for the day.
You could have a plant with thorns,
All right. Okay. But the point is, like over here, it's like, okay, you're coming to work.
basically.
You're coming to work. It's the same work. The problem with that is it's totally immaterial. So let's think of a different example. I don't know, blueberries, raspberries. I don't know. Not only you don't have a legal claim, you're not going to hold a grudge against me because I told you strawberries instead of blueberries. That can't be the case of the Mishnah. So the point is, if it's a real material claim, you've got legal recourse. You've got a claim of liability. If it was a totally immaterial issue, you told me we're going to be installing black flooring and instead it's brown flooring. So what? It's the same thing, exact same mechanism. It's totally immaterial. So that can't be the case in the Mishnah. The Talmud is pointing out to us, we've got a very weird space here in this Mishnah. We have to find a case where there was a deception going on over here. And by the way, deception doesn't have to mean that it was done with ill intent. The point was that I came to work, you came on one premise, and there was a miscommunication over here. That's a deception. But it has to be a case that there's no legal claim, which means at the end of the day, you feel you were cheated. Too bad. There's no legal claim. But it is material enough that the Talmud says, and the Mishnah says, you have the right to complain. What is that? What could be that case that is in this liminal space? The way we're going to visualize this, right, which case can this sugya be referencing? The way we're going to be visualizing this is like this. We have a mountain with two valleys. And we're trying to balance a ball at the very center of the mountain. And the problem is, if we don't get it perfectly in the center, it's going to fall down to one of the valleys. If there's a material deception, boom, the ball rolls down into legal claim territory. You could go sue them in court. You'll win in court. You've got a real material claim. If it was a totally immaterial deception, then that's not either the case of the Mishnah. You have no right to complain. So what's the case that gets the ball balanced at that tip? That on the one hand, there is no legal claim, but there is a right to complain. No legal claim, but you have a right to complain. You understand the issue over here? This is the issue. Okay. Difficult puzzle. The Talmud says the only way to crack this puzzle, follow along with me, is if we introduce another layer to this story. And this is going to be the case that allows us to find this middle ground. Dear friends, please follow along with what we do over here. All right, what is that middle spot? So Talmud says, look, let's add in a middleman, an agent. This agent could be somebody who works for the owner. So in order to help us do this over here, this is what we're going to be doing, okay? I'm the owner. See, this is the boss. He's got the big monopoly hat. All right, that's going to be me, okay? I'm the guy who's hiring workers. All of you are the workers, okay? And this is very important because I want you to try to get your head into the mindset of you being cheated. Right? It's like method acting, right? Like, really, really feel it. You're not acting. Which means when we study this Gemara, it's very logical. Make it bother you. What would you be coming home and saying, I had a bad day, I just got cheated, that guy, right? Your mind starts spinning. Why am I right? Why is he wrong? Let's do that. Which means this is very, very logical. But just like the two men coming down the chimney, you got to really think, right? What's happening over here? Really think this through. The Talmud says this case has to be a case where there's a middleman in between. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to be picking on Max. All right, Max, I'm going to ruin your life right now. Not your life. I'm going to ruin your night. I am the big boss, and I'm trying to hire workers. Max works for me, and Max says, "Boss, you need workers? It's okay. I'll help. I'll connect you with you guys." And all of you guys are the people that Max hires. Okay, so everybody get to know Max. You're gonna be having a lot of complaints against him in a minute. I'm doing all the I'm the big boss. I set down the terms. I tell Max. This is going to be the case that allows us to have this middle ground. this is a very plausible case. You're not being hired directly by the owner. You're being hired by somebody who hooked you up. Okay. So this is discovery number 2. Number 1, the case is that there's a deception. Number 2, there's an agent middleman that is doing the deception. Now, this does not mean that Max is doing it with ill intent. But the point is, there is a miscommunication. I said one thing, I committed to one thing, and then Max told you something else. Let's think about it now. This is the way it works. The deception is basically, and again, it doesn't mean that any of us meant to do the deception. But the point is that there is a deception. Yes?
I just looked up the word deception in the English dictionary.
Mm-hmm.
It says fraud. It said, to me, the word deception is something that has a
Ill intent.
ill intent.
For our purposes tonight, maybe we should have found a better word. But for our purposes, it means that the point was, at the end of the day, 2 parties are coming here with different imaginations of what should have been the agreement, but they are not both correct.
There's a discrepancy.
Or discrepancy.
Or misrepresentation.
Misrepresentation, misunderstanding, misspoken. Okay. I say I want to hire workers. I'm willing to pay each of them per day X amount of money. Max then goes and says, okay, I'll find you a bunch of guys, and hires all of you for a different amount than I committed to. You do work expecting to be getting paid what Max told you, but then you come to my office at the end of the day, and all of a sudden we discover that, no, I never had a mind to do that. That was never part of the deal. I'm paying you my amount. How do you like that case? Is that maybe what the case of the Mishnah is? Does this work? Could this be a case where there's no legal claim, but you do have a right to complain?
No.
We got to tease it out. We got to test it out.
Maybe in certain circumstances, but not other.
So the Talmud says we got to start testing it out. And this testing it out is going to start helping us discover more elements that we need to keep in mind in trying to crack the code of what this mission is talking about. Let's test it out over here. Let's say, let's get a spreadsheet. That's a good idea. Let's say I am willing to hire people for 4 zuz. I tell Max, 4 zuz I'm willing to hire people for. He then goes and hires all of you, but he didn't tell you 4, he told you 3. And all of you guys are like, cool, yeah, sure. I'll come work for 3 zuz for today. You all come do your work in my field. The day is over. You come to my office. And all of you guys are like, all right. So I say, okay, I owe all of you 4 zuz. I'll give all of you 4 zuz. And then the one,
Sick. I swallowed the wrong way.
and then the one nunnik speaks up. Hey, hot cup. Don't get distracted over here, or else we're going to lose the whole plot. One nunnik says, no. Max told us he's only paying us 3, not 4. Right? You're like, shut up, what are you saying? Ruining it for all of us. I'm like, oh, Max told you only 3, and all of you guys agreed to only 3. Okay, I'll pay all of you only 3. This is a scenario. I told Max I'm willing to pay 4. But no one else knows that. Max hires you for 3, you agreed to 3, and you're expecting 3. Could that be the case of our Mishnah, or does the ball start rolling somewhere? Think about it. This doesn't work, the Talmud says. Doesn't work. For sure you have no legal claim, right? You for sure don't have a legal claim. But do you have a right to complain? But what about a right to complain? Do you have a right to complain?
No.
Also, the Talmud says this doesn't work. It doesn't work because the workers accepted the lower quote. You have a right to hold a grudge and complain? You were told 3, you accepted 3 happily, and you're getting 3. So this doesn't work. It can't be that the agent was giving you a lower number. So Talmud says, let's try it another one. So it can't be lower number, right? We understand this. The Talmud says, okay, let's try it again. Let's do the opposite. I tell Max, I want to hire workers. I need a bunch of workers today. I'm willing to pay up to 3 zuz. But then Max goes and hires all of you guys, and he tells you you're all going to be getting paid 4 zuz. And you guys are like, wow, today's a good day. We're going out for dinner tonight because I'm going to be making a lot of money. I'm making 4s for today. At the end of the day, you finish all your work, come to my office, you discover that the 4s never happened. My side of the deal was only 3.
We're taking Max out.
Yeah, Max better not turn around.
1 second. 1 second. Does that work? Does that work?
I think it's a legal claim.
It's a legal claim.
It's
Against who?
against the
Max.
Oh no, Max and the in the mock.
Oh. So this is a little bit interesting. So Thomas says 1 second. What did Max tell you?
4.
But what did he tell you about 4? If Max said that I am going to pay you 4, then yes, then you have a legal claim against Max. Right? If the agent stated that he or she is responsible for the wage, that I'm going to pay you this, I'm hiring you for this amount. Meanwhile, he was hiring on my behalf. But if he took responsibility for it, and he said those words, I'm going to pay you 4, then the ball rolls down to legal claim, not against me, but against Max. 1 second. Now, but what if the agent says that I am not taking responsibility for this, I'm just matchmaking you. Like, I know you guys, I'll hook you up with a nice good gig for today. You come work for my boss, but I'm not doing anything. All he said was 4. But he never signed a document with you. He has no legal, he's not a legal party to this agreement. I'll get to you in a second. I see your problem. 1 second. So let's look what's going on over here. I said 3. Max hired all of you and told you 4, but you can never go back to Max and say, I'm going to sue you. I don't know. I don't know Max. He's a nice guy helping me hook him up with people. I can't take responsibility for what he said. Now, you're going to say that I don't care if my agent said it. I didn't take responsibility for it.
Well, and that's true for sure, but also what's true is that we sue Max for $1 for having led us to take that job. And losing $1.
No, he was just being a nice guy. Max was just being a good Samaritan.
He was not being a good Samaritan.
He was. No, he didn't mean to hurt anybody. He said, I said 4? I don't remember saying 4. He said, I don't know. Maybe he told me 4, maybe I told you 3. No one knows what happened over here. But the point is, you got no real legal right to schlep him to court. And there is an idea, even in secular law, and I know I shouldn't be arguing with a lawyer about this, that at some point, if the representation of somebody or some entity begins to harm them, even without any legal action, the court will consider it that they stopped representing them. The moment an agency starts harming who they represent, that cuts it off. So I can say, I'm sorry. Max doesn't represent me. That he was harming me. I don't know what he was doing. The point is, you have no claim over here. You expected 4. I tell you, my side of the deal was always 3. Look at all my. Everybody gets paid by me 3. I don't know who said 4. Who said 4? No one gets paid 4 around there. 3, everybody gets paid. But you're annoyed because you're expecting 4. This is an interesting case. Do you have a legal claim? No. I know you say no. Tom says no. There's no legal claim because my side of the deal that I signed up for was 3. That was my understanding, maybe even signed the document. So, I'm keeping up to my side of the deal. Do you have a legal claim against Max? No, because he didn't say he's taking responsibility. He's like, I don't know, I'm just a guy. I'm just trying to help people connect with people. I can't take responsibility for, you should have spoken about it, Max says. I never said I'm becoming a legal partner here. So you don't have a legal claim against me. You don't have a legal claim against Max. So the ball is not going to be rolling down to legal claim territory. But do you have a right to complain? Yes, you do. What's your complaint? Think about it. You're really annoyed right now. You can't even go to court. You go to lawyers like, there's no legal claim. Nothing to help you with. But could you have a real right to the complaint? Yes. What's your complaint? Think about it, right? You just got annoyed. Who are you upset at? Why are you upset at him? Think about it.
He did not take due care.
You're annoyed at Max,
Reasonable care.
right? I'm sorry, but and Jews always tell you, you got a legitimate reason why you have a right to complain over here. Max, this was not right. You're hiring people. You're not being clear. You're not this. You're not that. You're not right. All these people now upset. I'm sorry, Max. You're going to go home and tell Amy that, you don't want to know what just happened in class to me. Okay. Do you have a... He's not going to make it home. Nobody beat him up over here. Okay. Do you have a right to complain against me?
No.
No.
Why not? Maybe also. That wasn't right. It was his guy. He should have stood behind it. I could just be like, you know what? Legally, I don't have a right to pay it. Get out of my office. I'm paying you
If
$3.
you knew
But
he's
you
done that
didn't know
before.
about this.
Oh, so if you could
different
show.
story.
But over here, it was just it was a misunderstanding. I was clear that this is what I was paying from the beginning. I'm keeping to my word. He was never a legal partner in this. If you had an issue with the thing, you should have spoken to me this morning. I was around this morning. I don't know why you only come to me now to figure out how much you're getting paid. I always said 3. Everybody around here only gets paid 3. Goodbye, only getting 3. Talmud says this works. If we have the agent, and the agent promised more, that is going to be the case of our Mishnah. So we have an agent, and the third level of discovery is that the agent promised more than the employer committed to, and, all right, a little detail that the Talmud adds in as well, the agent didn't take personal responsibility for the wages, which is why we have no legal claim against him. See what's going on over here? This is fun, no? We're teasing out a thing, trying to figure out how it could try out all the scenarios, think it through, and see where the chips land over here. The Talmud says there's one more consideration that we have to add in over here. And this last consideration changes a lot. You ready? In today's day and age, we're not so used to this concept, but it used to be a very big concept. Today, every contractor gets to charge however much he wants to charge, right? Which means you could call up one plumber, how much does this cost? It costs $150. Call up another plumber, exact same job, it's going to cost you $500. Right? It's open market, free market. Everybody gets to choose whatever price they want, and right, to their detriment or to their benefit. Whatever they are. Back in the day, in Talmudic times, and from what I understand, even for a lot of history in a lot of places, specific jobs had what was called standard wages. If you're going to work in a field, what was that?
Price fixing.
No. It was just in our town or in our country or in our state, anybody who works in the field is getting X amount of money every single day, and just, no raise, no nothing. This is just how much this work goes for. You could go find different work. This work is worth this amount. The Talmud is going to tell us we have to consider standard wages as well. And that's going to change everything, which means everything we said stands, but we need to also add into the ingredients the issue of standard wages, and then we need to try out all the scenarios again. So let's now test how the Mishnah works if we add in standard wages as well. Okay, you ready? So this is hot and cup. We're now adding in a whole new element here, and then we have to test it all over again, now with the element, which is going to bring out a lot more nuance over here. You ready? Same scenario. This is the scenario the Talmud likes. I told Max, I need guys, but I'm only paying 3 a day. Max all of a sudden hires all of you for 4 zuz a day, and now you're upset at me. Okay, so it's the end of the day, you're sweating and you're all really annoyed because you just discovered that I only committed to 3, Max told you 4, either it was straight out deception on Max's part, but I don't know, that's nothing to do with me. Or it was a mistake, whatever it was. The point is we got this issue right now. So now the Talmud says, well, let's look at what is the standard wage. I committed 3, you're expecting 4. Let's say the standard wage here in Metro Detroit is 4 zuz. Everybody gets paid 4 zuz. That's just standard. What I did was I was telling Max, I want guys, but I want to pay lower than regular wage. Let's find guys who could do a cheap job over here. Can we get a good deal? Max like, you know what? Yeah, don't worry. I got you back. I'll find you a group of guys who could do it for a good deal. But what does he do? He hires them for standard wage. Hey, let's stay on track over here. Does the ball still stay in the middle, or does it fall into one of the valleys now? Think this through. And again, this is very personal for you. You are right now getting cheated out of money. This is so you got to feel it.
Legal claim.
I think it's a legal claim.
Legal claim?
I think it was illegal,
Oh, why?
because the standard community expectation.
Oh,
So-
there you go.
So what Max told me was in line with expectations.
That actually, yeah, that's the one time. The moment standard wage is 4 zuz, we got a real legal claim over here. First of all, that wasn't even right of you to even speak to Max about hiring people for 3 zos when everybody is hiring and being hired for 4 zos. And number 2, that's very, very nice that you said something this morning, but everybody walks into a field and doesn't even have to clarify how much am I getting paid. Everybody gets paid for. So I've got a legal claim over here. So that can't be the situation over here. So let's try it out differently. Let's say the standard wage is 3 zos. So let's play out the whole scenario again. I go to Max, I need a bunch of workers. I'm willing to pay 3 zos standard wage. Max says, I'll hook you up with a great group of guys. He goes to all of you, says, my boss is hiring today, 4 zos. And what do all you say?
Fantastic.
Amazing, good. We're going out to dinner tonight. This is great. And we would usually be getting paid 3 zos. Today I'm getting 25% more. That's amazing. So all of you come expecting to get 4, which is what my agent quoted to you, but at the end of the day you discover that really the deal was only for 3. What now? What happens now?
Just upset.
Maybe I don't do this work normally. Max got me.
No. Oh, so very good. Okay, you're already starting to, but this is your job. You do this day to day. This is what the gigs you're looking for. This is a case of Talmud says actually the ball stays in the middle. Why? Because you're anyways only getting 3 zos no matter where you work. This is the standard wage. It was very, very nice and cute that you were able to fantasize today for a few hours about how you're going to be making 4 zos, but guess what? That was never real. Never real. The deal always only was 3 zos. I'm sorry that you were under the wrong impression of how much you're getting paid. But guess what? It doesn't make a difference. Because anyways, you only work for 3 zos always. And anyways, you would have gotten somewhere else 3 zos. Take your 3 zos and you're happy. You're still annoyed. I'm still really annoyed. I'm annoyed that, the same reason as before, I thought I'm making 4. I'm very upset at Max for deceiving me. And I'm upset at you, Levi Dubov, for not being a good mensch and honoring Max's word, even though you don't need to. So I have a right to complain. But there's no legal claim here, and you're allowed to hold on to that grudge. So Talmud says, look at this. If we mix in standard wages, it does make it a little bit more complicated, but we can make it work. It only works if there's an agent. The agent promised more than the employer, and the standard wage is for the original lower amount that the owner was willing to pay from the beginning.
But doesn't that assume that there's no scarcity of people who are willing to do whatever he's paying?
But everybody only gets paid 3. That's just standard wage. Nobody gets paid differently.
Maybe it wasn't enough workers,
Right, well, that's what I'm saying.
He's just.
But none of this works if you have a free market. None of this will work in a free market in
No.
the first place.
Now, we could also say you have no right to complain. Right to complain when you don't even have a right to complain. What are you complaining about? You always get hired out for 3. The deal from the beginning was to pay you only 3. And he paid 3 like everybody else gets paid and like you get paid every other day. So, yeah, it was a bummer that you thought you'd be making more. But you're going to complain about it? Do you have a right to hold on to that grudge? You could even say it doesn't sit here in the middle. So standard wages changes a lot over here. We have to really think this through. A right to complain means you have a real legitimate issue that you could hold on to over here. But if you're getting standard wage, who should even have a right to complain? So you're seeing what's going on over here. This is standard wages makes it a lot more difficult to get this balancing act over here. And this is going to be discovery number 4. We need to consider what the local standard wages are in order to understand where this case is going to fall. Legal claim, no legal claim, right to complain, no right to complain. How are we doing so far? The phase of discovery has officially now ended. We only have 10 minutes left over here. Okay, phase of discovery is now. Now that we have these 4 premises that we need to be working with, now that we understand what could work, what can't work, now that we've developed all that, now the Talmud's going to give us 5 different scenarios of where this Mishnah works. That there was a deception, you hired workers, there's a deception, no legal claim, but there's a right to complain. You ready? You have 10 minutes. Let's see how many we can get through. But we did the heavy lifting. We did the discovery, which is really where we saw what the limitations of this law are. How are we doing? Are we doing okay so far? Wonderful, wonderful. Now that we got this, let's start going to solutions. Solution number one to the Mishnah, you would even say is a cheap shot, is the easiest answer. Okay? We're working with the exact same scenario we've been talking about. I committed to paying 3. Max helped me find people. He finds all of you, but tells all of you 4. That was a deception. But you know what the standard wage is here in Metro Detroit? No standard wage. Oh, that's easy. There's no standard wage. That means there's no real expectation from anybody how much you should be getting. And that allows the case to really go back to what we've discussed before, that you have no legal claim, but you do have a right to complain. You have no legal claim because I only promised to pay 3. Max never took responsibility. You should have done better due diligence to understand what the terms of the deal are. And I'm paying you what I committed to from the beginning. You've got no legal claim against me. You've got no legal claim against Max because he never took responsibility as a legal partner over here. But you do have a right to complain. It wasn't right what just happened over here. The Talmud says that you have a right to complain over here. So this is very, very easy by just saying, well, maybe this is a case where there's no standard wage. What about in a city where there is a standard wage? If there's a standard wage, it makes it a lot harder. Because as we saw before, if there's a standard wage, no matter which way you go, if it's higher or lower, it's going to fall into one of these two valleys. So Talmud says like this. Okay, same scenario, but now let's add a standard wage. Employer quoted 3. Same scenario, I told Max I need people, I'm willing to pay 3 of those. Max said I'm going to find you all these guys, they're going to work. But he told all of you 4. You come, you're really excited to work here today because you think you're getting 4, which is higher than standard wage. This is your good day, you're going out for dinner tonight. You're really excited. You come to my office at the end of the day, you finish your work, and you discover that actually you're getting the regular same old 3. Is there a legal claim over here? No legal claim, as we've established before, right? We're dealing within this area where there's no legal claim. Now, generally speaking, the Talmud said, if you're getting paid 3 and the standard wage is 3, even if you thought you're getting 4, I'm sorry, you don't have a right to complain in that case. Because you're working every day for 3.
Why would the agent just say, you're getting 6 and have it make his life very easy, he gets people immediately?
Say that again, that what?
You can say, my employer's paying $7, sevens is in, and he'll get people immediately coming up to the store, he doesn't leave his house, no claim.
So that's a good question. But standard wage, standard wage. It's in everybody's interest to keep standard wage, standard wage. Standard wage isn't changing. Everybody gets paid to work in the... We can't start having people changing wages over here.
I'm not talking about what the wage is. It makes no difference. All I can do is deceive you.
Now, that's part of what, now, it's a separate thing. Does somebody have the right to change standard wages and to manipulate the market in their favor by offering other things? It's community custom. It's a tradition. In our city, this is how much you pay for this. Over.
So why would you even bring it up and say it's paying 4?
I don't know. I have the same problem. Max, what'd you do over here? Why'd you tell them 4? You don't have to tell them nothing. There's no. We all know how much we're getting paid. I don't know. Who said 4? How did that fall in over here, Max?
Max offered to give them a loaf of bread too, but it was still going to be 3.
1
They're
second.
getting more.
Usually this case wouldn't work. But let's say you come with a complaint. You say, no. I know standard wage is 3. But guess what? I don't do this for a living. Talmud says, what about a case where you say, I'm not a laborer. I don't work in people's fields every day. I've got my own field. The only reason why I took off from my field to work in your field was because Max started telling me you got doing 25% more for Zuzim. Okay, so I said it's worth it for me to take off from my work to do your work if you pay me more. But no. I've got real issue. I've got real beef over here. Because if I do this every single day and tell you, look, every day you get 3, today you're also getting 3. I'm sorry you thought you're getting more. But then you can say, okay, no legal claim. But over here, if I can make a legal claim, I'm a landowner. You've just really hurt me. I could have been working my land. I only took off from my land because I thought I'm making more money today. And then you have what's called the middle space. You still don't have a legal claim. Because at the end of the day, you did work, which standard wages, this work is only being paid 3. And I only committed to paying 3. Place just went up.
You should know better.
What was that?
You should know, the landowner who says that.
Right. That's my thing. I was here a whole day. Come to me in the morning and figure out what the terms are. You're relying on Max, who's just a guy helping out a guy. He posts on Facebook. I know a guy. He's up in this. He's not illegal, but he's nothing to do over here.
But does the employer have a claim against the agent?
No, because meaning maybe I'm annoyed at him, but no legal claim. He didn't make me lose money. Meaning I still like Max. He got me guys. Okay, so we have to fight it out in the office a little bit, but whatever. Just
He impaired your reputation.
okay. But right now he's that we'll deal with that tomorrow. First, let's figure out between ourselves. No, this is good, but you see. So Thomas says, listen, you've got a big issue over here. I get it. We can't just dismiss you and say you anyways always get 3, take your 3 and goodbye. But you still don't have a legal claim. There's no legal claim. At the end of the day, there's no legal claim. But you do now have a right to complain. That was wrong. That's a bummer. This works. If you could come and say, I'm not a laborer, I'm a landowner, and I only did this because I was for, you could also say, this is below my dignity. To go and work somebody else's land, I'm a landowner. I only did it because you're paying me more. It's below my dignity to work for 3. I don't do this every single day. So that's another solution to how this could work. That's solution number 2. Ready for solution number 3? Okay. Then we can start debating which solution is the best solution and poking holes in all these solutions. But, right? Okay, but we're not going to go there. Solution number 3 is like this. Same exact case. I'm willing to pay 3, and 3 is the standard wage. So I'm not being cheap. We're doing the regular thing. I say, Max, you know a bunch of guys. Can you help me find guys? I'm willing to pay 3, which is regular standard wage. Max hires all of you. Unbeknownst to me, he told all of you, me getting paid 4. All of you guys are excited. We're going out for dinner tonight. Good day for all of us. Okay. At the end of the day, you discover that no 4. You're getting your regular 3 today. That was the deal from the beginning. Max, I committed to 3. That's my legal liability. Max has no legal liability over here. He was just a guy helping out a friend, Good Samaritan. He has no foot in the door, no horse in the race. You can't sue him. And you're getting standard wage. Oh. But what if all of you come to me and say, no. We work every single day for 3. And we do work every single day for 3. But when we were hired to work for you for 4, we said, you know what? This guy's paying us more. We'll work even harder today. Which means I can't work like this every single day. I work at a regular pace. Today we did a really good job because we wanted to honor what you were paying us. You can't do this to us now. This is the 3rd proposal, what this case could maybe be. This is a good argument. You produced work that's worth 4, because they were under the assumption of only 4, and now you're finding out, just getting regular standard wage. So the Talmud says, maybe this works. Maybe this is the case. There's no legal claim, because at the end of the day, I committed to 3. The deal was only 3. We can't sue Max because he has nothing over here. And standard wage is 3. Okay. The Talmud then says, whoa, one second. If you produced work that's worth 4 zuz, then maybe you actually do have a legal claim. The Talmud then challenges the solution. I don't know if the solution works over here. One second. If you're telling me that if you work for 3 zuz, you produce X amount of work per day, and today you produce 25% more work, maybe you do have a legal claim. That's not this little balanced space over here where you don't have this, but... So Talmud says, no. Maybe it's a case where you can't prove that you've done the 25% more. You claim that you've done it, but you can't prove it in court.
It's 33%, by the way, the math.
I know. But I'm just trying to keep it simple over here, right? Because it's 33% from the 3. Right. It's just add on another quarter. Okay, I know. Is that irking you the whole time? Making you not follow the Okay.
That's not irking me at all.
Okay, go. This is the case. You say, all of you coming to me with a complaint. This is wrong. We always get hired for 3, and we do a good job every single day for 3. But today, Max told us that you're going to be paying us 4. We did a really good job for you today. So I'm like, you know what? No problem. Prove it to me. If you can prove it to me, you got 4. And you're like, I can't prove it to you. Why can't you prove it to me? It's an unprovable thing. For example, here's an example. Talmud gives a practical example. One of the key jobs of working in a field is to dig these irrigation channels, to get water throughout the whole field. The problem is that water, whenever water flows, it builds up sediment, and these canals constantly had to be rebuilt and redug, and So what if you told me, I hired you to build me these irrigation channels. You tell me, no, listen, usually we just do it and we dig it. Today, because you were paying us extra, we built it unbelievably smooth. We really worked hard. These channels are going to last a lot longer. They're not going to build up. They're not going to fall apart. We worked very hard. The problem is there's already water in all these channels. There's no real objective way to measure that they've actually done that. Oh, this is the case. So this works. If they say that it's impossible to show that the work was done 33% more, quarter more, then, okay, they have no legal claim, but they do have a right to complain. Because they claim that they worked on the level of 4, but now they're just getting standard wage of 3. We wouldn't have done all this extra bonus work for only 3, but they can't prove it, so they have no legal claim, but because they've done that, they have a right to complain. All right, dear friends, this is only solution number 3. There's still solution number 4 and solution number 5. And 4 and 5 are even more creative. Yes?
But if, it depends on the work, because if you're working in the fields and you're picking fruit, there is an absolute way to define if you've done more, by how many crates.
Oh, that's what the Talmud says. If we could prove it, then you do have a legal claim. And then you could sue me in people's court, and I'm going to have to pay you 4, because you could objectively prove I did work worth 4, not worth 3. But in the case where you can't prove it, there's no clear way to prove it, then it's just my word against your word. And I'm like, okay, listen, that's a bummer. No legal claim, but then you do have a right to complain.
But at no point did the owner say there's going to be a pay for performance, where if you do X amount and if you do more, I am going to pay you more.
That's true, but there could be a general assumption, which is what the Talmud asks. 1 second. You pay 3, and everybody knows that for 3 you get X amount of work. So if they could prove that they've done 33% more,
That's fine.
then that's worth 4. What do I care if it happens on 1 day or over 1.5 days? Okay, dear friends, we're going to stop over here. We could keep on going forever. We didn't even finish the whole sugya. We spent how much time on this? More than 50 minutes. Time flew? That's good. That's a good sign. When you learn good Talmud, time goes. It's good, because it's like a good train. The point is, dear friends, the Talmud is developing the worldview of halacha, of Jewish law. We're testing the limits. We're understanding how the law works and how it plays, especially in these nuanced cases. This is a little taste of how Talmudic logic works, and this is an easy sugya. This is an easy sugya to get through. This is beginner's levels. Dear friends, that's what we got for today. All the time we got, right? All the time we got for today. We still have a few, so look at the solution number 4. We didn't even do this. I also want to talk a little bit about Jerusalem Talmud and Babylonian Talmud. We're going to say that for next week. This is very, very important. We'll talk about it next week. So dear friends, but for now, we're going to call it a day, call it a wrap. Next week on Wednesday is our final class, the Talmud until today. I know Barbara's waiting for that class, right? What happens post-Talmud? How did that happen? And the whole fascinating story and history and substance for that coming up in lesson number 6. May God bless you all. Thank you for joining with us tonight. Take us some more. Are there any more Hamantashen left? There are. Okay, enjoy. Take a little something on your way home. Happy Purim. And once again, you're all invited. Please join us tomorrow night for the Megillah reading. And we will see you all very, very soon.
So.
Chag Sameach. Take care.